Hello and welcome. Today in this video we shall learn about a very beautiful story written by John Updike, and the name of the story is Should Wizard Hit Mommy? This is a very beautiful story which revolves around the two characters, the father Jack and the daughter Jo. Jo is a 4 years old daughter of Jack, and the father had a habit of telling Jo the stories for sleeping, or you can say the bedtime stories. The ritual of telling the stories started when Jo was only 2 years old. Now Jo is 4 years old and she is very curious. She developed a very good outlook or reasonable outlook. Here the theme of the story is to describe the differences about the outlook, about the approach, about the attitude of a person towards the world. In this story we shall learn that immature, young and children, they have a different outlook towards the world. On the contrary, the elder people, mature people, they have a different outlook, different approach towards the world. So let us proceed. In this story, Father Jack tells Jo always a story on Saturdays or on weekends, and the story continues in the same manner except the slightest differences. In every story there is the central character Roger. It may be Roger Fish, it may be Roger Chipmunk, it may be Roger Monkey. Okay, in this story the character Roger is the name of a skunk. Skunk is an animal that is mostly found in Central America, and it emits a very foul smell. Okay, what happens in the story and what happens in every story? In every story, the line of the story moves in this way that the central character Roger faces a problem, and to get the solution of the problem, Roger goes to an enormous old owl, wise owl, and the wise old owl sends Roger to a wizard who is living in a forest in the woodland, and the wizard provides the solution of the problem, and in exchange of the solution of the problem, the wizard demands in every story some money from Roger, and every time Roger gets a short in providing the money in exchange of the solution of the problem. In the same time, or at the same time, instantly the wizard asks Roger to go to the end of the lane where there is a well, to take the round of the well, and from there to take the rest of the money and to pay him back. It happens in every story. After paying the money, Roger comes back to home, and in the evening time there comes a train, and Roger hears the sound of train, and from that train daddy returns back home and they take the supper. Jack, the writer or the narrator of the story, describes to Jo about the ingredients of the supper also. In this story that tells Jack to Jo, Roger is a skunk which emits a very foul smell. Roger, to get the solution of the problem of the bad smell, goes to the enormous old owl and tells him that nobody is willing to play with him because of his foul smell. The owl sends him to wizard, and at that time Roger skunk knocks at the door, and the wizards come out, who is a teeny old wizard with the long beard and a big hat on his head. The wizard asks Roger to enter in the house and to keep him away from wizard because he was really giving very foul smell. The wizard asked him, "What do you want?" The skunk told him, "I want to get rid of this foul smell." The wizard now remains, or he searches his magic wand, and after finding his magic wand, he enchanted a mantra, and by enchanting the mantra, Roger skunk started giving the smell of roses, and the house of the wizard fills with the smell of a roses. Now the wizard demanded him the money in exchange of the help provided him, and he demanded 7 pennies. At that time Roger skunk had only 4 pennies, and wizard asked him to go and make round of the well and to pay him the rest of the money. In this way, very happily, Roger skunk returned back to the forest. There, up to the evening time, he played with his forest friends. Rest of the forest animals, they came near to him and they kept playing basketball, soccer, and pick up the sticks games. But in the evening time, then he went to his mother at home, and at that time when the mother noticed that skunk is giving the smell of roses, not the original smell of a skunk, the mother skunk got very much annoyed. She took little skunk with herself and she went to the wizard. She hit the wizard with an umbrella and asked him to change the smell of a skunk. And at that time the wizard changed the smell of roses into the original smell of a skunk. At this time, the story ended differently. Every time Roger would get the solution of the problem, but in this story we noticed that the mother was not agreed with the solution of the foul smell of a skunk. At that time, the curious and a crazy girl Jo opposed the father. She opposed the father that the story should not be ended in this way. You should change the end of the story. I want a happy ending. But Father Jack, he had a different outlook towards the world. He told the girl that I am your father and I know what is good and what is bad. Dear viewers, we see that Joe's attitude is changing rapidly in between the story. When the father commits any mistake, he said Roger fish instead of Roger skunk. The girl stopped him at that same time and told and reminded the father that it is not the Roger fish but it is the story of Roger skunk. In the same way, when the mother Claire one day told the girl that there is God everywhere in around of us, the girl was not satisfied and she inquired from the father Jack and she asked, is there in real God around us? Moreover, the girl, when the father told that the magician or the wizard took his magic wand and changed the smell of a Roger skunk, the girl raises once again more question, are the magic spells real? In this way we see the girl in between interrupts the father and she raises the questions which are full of a logic. Now we see the girl insists to change the end of the story, but the father tries to make her accept the ending of the story and he tried to make her convince that Roger skunk's mother would be very much happy with the ending of the story and the skunk will also be habitual with his foul smell and the other comrades who are living in the woodland, they would also be familiar with the foul smell of a Roger skunk and one day they shall also become the friend of Roger skunk. So my dear viewers, in this way we learnt from this story that the life has two sorts of dimensions, imaginative dimension and the realistic dimension or realistic approach. But in reality the life is full of harshness and we must not hesitate to accept the outlook that is a true realistic, whether it may be full of difficulties or not. So in this way we conclude the story. I thank you very much for watching this video. Thank Allah.